It's October once again, so my master has been thinking a lot about spooky ooky games for different consoles. Last year I made a video on spooky games my master owns from the Game Boy to the PS2. This year, my master wants me to make a video on more modern spooky games. Some of them you may have heard of, some are hopefully new. So let's take a look, shall we? My master bought this because he loves the movie Aliens. This isn't scary per se, but it does have a moody atmosphere. It's a Metroidvania in which you play as Marines who explore areas such as the Sulaco and LV-426. Your characters can experience permadeath and you can play up to 16 different characters with unique dialogue. The story is better than any episode of Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. In Dementium, The Ward, you play as a journalist who is running away from playing a game character with large breasts. Oh wait, that's not right. You play as a man with amnesia, who has to explore and find the exit to an abandoned hospital you're trapped in. It's played in first person, and is pretty spooky when you're playing in the dark with headphones. It's also scarier than any episode of Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. Dementium 2 was by a different developer, although it plays similarly. It features some improvements with the flashlight system, save points, a bigger variety of enemies and the abilities to both jump and crouch. You play as the same character from the first game. Reality shifts from normal to demented semi-frequently, and it feels a bit like Silent Hill, but not a rip-off. These are both great pickups for spooky season, and are scarier than any episode of Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors is an adventure game where you play as a university student named Junpei, one of 8 other people abducted and forced to play the Nonary game, which forces people to solve life or death situations and to escape from a sinking cruise liner. My master likes Alice because she has a nice rack. There are 2 gameplay types, novel and escape. The novel sections are a visual novel, which requires you to just read and occasionally make a choice when offered. Your choices may affect the ending of the game. Escape sections are more puzzle-based and most are pretty fair, except for the horrendous Sudoku puzzle at the end of the game. It was a big success and there are 3 games total in this franchise, all of which are better than Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. This is a port of the original Resident Evil on the Nintendo DS. This includes Rebirth Mode, which is an easier difficulty setting with more saves, ammo, and touchscreen minigames, aka Journalist Mode. If you somehow don't already own this game, you can get this version for an overinflated price. However, it's still worth paying more for this than it is for Hulu to watch Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 1 and 2 are turn-based strategy games and are spin-offs of the main series. Demons invade Tokyo, and numbers appear above people's heads which indicate how many days they have left until they are meant to die. It features a lot of regular demons from the SMT series and fun turn-based combat. The scariest part is how similar the story, written in the mid-2010s, predicted the ways governments would act in certain situations, such as one that started in 2019. However, even if my master were locked down again, he still wouldn't spend time watching Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. The other SMT game for the DS is SMT Strange Journey. You play as part of a team sent by the UN to investigate a spatial distortion that has opened in Antarctica. Gameplay-wise, it's very similar to other SMT games, although the setting feels unique. It feels a bit more like the John Carpenter movie The Thing in some respects, due to the setting. There are different alignments you can choose as you progress, and the game can get quite dark as you get potentially more demonic. All 3 SMT games got ports to the 3Ds as well. Thankfully, Alien Earth doesn't seem to be getting any sequels, because it sucked massive balls. This is one of the few M-rated games for the DS. It's a visual novel in which you play as an amnesiac teenager named Leanne, wandering an abandoned military installation, trying to regain her memories and escape while avoiding traps designed to kill her. This amnesia thing seemed to be a popular trope at the time. Once you finish the game, a second chapter is revealed which provides more backstory and is a remake of the original phone game that this game spawned from. Thankfully, there are only 8 chapters in Alien Earth, which is 8 too many because it sucked balls. Well, that's all the spooky DS games my master has. I'll be back soon with more of his spooky games for other consoles like the PSP, 3DS, Wii, PS3, PS4 and Switch. Continuing on from yesterday, let's talk about some more spooky games for handheld consoles, this time on the 3DS. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 1 and 2 are turn-based strategy games and are re-releases of the DS games that I talked about in the last video. These feature enhanced art, voice acting, new demons and an 8th day to extend the story. For story content, they are the definitive versions. Your mileage may vary on the new art, but either version of the games are worth playing because the girls have giant tits. This is a remastered version of the original game on the DS. Here we go. This is Atlas style. This isn't as popular as the original version but does contain extra content and changes. These include new artwork, new X missions, updated visuals, a new dungeon revolving around a new character named Alex, 3 new endings related to Alex and the dungeon, and new demons. The game was criticized in particular for the altered art style, the Alex content and the removal of the sub-app limit, which some people felt made the game too easy. My master thinks either version of the game is worth playing, but you'll probably have an easier time finding the newer version. Amazingly, this is the only version of the game available. You play as Flynn, who is a member of a group of samurai that protect the civilians of the Eastern Kingdom of Mikado against demon threats. You slowly unravel the mystery of the story, which my master doesn't want to spoil, while fighting and fusing demons like in other SMT games. Instead of random battles, creatures are on screen now and you can attack them first, which gives you an advantage. Otherwise, combat is largely the same as other SMT games. My master likes the game but thought the change in art style was pretty gaudy and looked like a cheap mobile game. The soundtrack is good, although my master misses Shoji Meguro. Amazingly, there's no other version of this game either. This is a spin-off of SMT4 and takes place in an alternate timeline, spinning off from the original game's neutral ending. It still has the same turn-based combat as other SMT games and includes many of your favorite demons. Instead of playing as the main character from SMT4, you play as the demon hunter Nanashi, who dies and is resurrected by the demon Data in exchange for becoming his godslayer. Some people complained that the game felt more like Persona than an SMT game because of tropes like the power of friendship. My master thinks it's still worth playing. This is marketed as a spin-off of the Fatal Frame games. It's an augmented reality game which requires a special booklet to play. The worst aspect of the game is you can't actually play it in the dark. You need proper lighting for the game to recognize images from the booklet, which kills the atmosphere. Add the spotty camera to that and you have an experience is sometimes okay and sometimes frustrating. This is the sequel to 999 and features similar gameplay to the former game, with both puzzles visual novel sections. You play as Sigma, one of 9 characters kidnapped and trying to escape from a giant warehouse. You can choose to ally with or betray people and there are 24 endings to see. However, the flow system lets you jump around through the different narrative strands whenever you like. You aren't forced to replay puzzles and can skip dialogue you've already read. Also, the graphics no longer use the sprites of the first game, so we get to see Alice's tits in glorious 3D. This is a solid sequel to the first game, and if you like visual novels, this is a must-play. Well, that's all of the 3DS games my master has. I'll be back soon with more of his spooky games for other consoles including PSP, PS3, PS4, PS5, Wii and Wii U, Switch and Xbox 360. Continuing on from yesterday, let's talk about some more spooky games for handheld consoles, this time for the Sony PSP. You play as Fred, a private detective who had been investigating criminal Ulysses Pitt, but Pitt had discovered that Fred was onto him and had him murdered. This is a third-person action-adventure game that revolves around Fred's missing head and his ability to switch heads by defeating certain enemies, decapitating them, and collecting their heads. It's a fun game that is pretty typical of this type of 3D action platformer from the mid-2000s. These are remakes of the original Persona game and Persona 2, Innocent Sin, which finally got a release in the West. Persona 1 is much more like its original version, features content cut from the original game, and didn't Americanize any characters. Persona 2 Innocent Sin had its first release in the West, with some altered content. For some reason, both games have remixed music, which my master thinks kind of sucks compared to the original soundtracks. For some reason, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment also got a PSP release, but Atlas was too retarded to release it in the West, so both versions of the P1 and P2 trilogies are incomplete. Well done, you utter knobheads.
I've got, the faggot king here.
Silent Hill Origins. This is a prequel to the original Silent Hill game. You play as Travis, a trucker who rescues Elisa from a burning house and explores Silent Hill to find out what happened to her. My master hasn't played this since he bought it at its original release. He remembers it as being an okay Silent Hill game but not great. It was also ported to the PS2, and my master wishes he had bought that version to play on a big screen as he feels horror on handhelds isn't as scary, although it's scarier than Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. This is the third game in the Parasite Eve series, and is more of an action game than JRPG like the past games. It stars Aya Brea fighting mysterious bloodthirsty aliens called the Twisted, which have been killing humanity. It has a ridiculously convoluted plot involving time travel and numerous plot holes which people complained about, especially the ending. On top of that, some people complained about Aya's clothing becoming shredded when she receives damage. My master thinks it's an okay game but not a good Parasite Eve game. Well, that's all of the spooky PSP games my master has. I'll be back next time with more spooky games for his other consoles, including the 360, Wii and Wii U, Switch, PS3, PS4 and PS5.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock.
Continuing on from yesterday, let's now look at some spooky games for home consoles, this time for the Xbox 360. This game is by this smug douchebag and is a lame rip-off of Stephen King. In the game, Alan has writer's block and goes to the mountains with his wife to procrastinate and avoid doing his job. His wife gets kidnapped by something called the Dark Presence, and it becomes a metagame where Alan can't tell what's real and what's not. How original. My master thought the game was pretty lame, except for one section, and not very scary, but it was better than Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. The game tells the story of FBI agent Ethan Thomas, investigating a connection between serial killings and assaults by vagrants. While hunting a killer called the Matchmaker, he is framed for murder. It's played in first person and tonally. It's similar to movies like Silence of the Lambs. There are two types of gameplay: investigation, in which you forensically examine crimes, and combat, which focuses on blocking. It's pretty scary if you are looking for a more grounded horror game. It's far more grounded than Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. This is a game where you play a rip-off of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. You are Frank West, a photographer who goes to a shopping mall surrounded by zombies. You rescue people, craft weapons and fight bosses. The bosses are great, but the time limits on the missions and progression are bullshit and take a lot of fun out of the game, according to my master. It also had a censored remake which my master thinks you shouldn't buy. This is the original version of the game. You play as Agent York, investigating the murder of a woman which is similar to other murders across the country. It's famous for its characters, including how York talks to his friend Zack, and some of the dialogue in the game is genuinely hilarious. People complain about the shooting sections, but my master doesn't think they're that difficult or unfair, and he thinks the ghost designs and sound effects are actually king of creepy. There's a director's cut on the PS3 which has some story sections not on the Xbox version. It's also famous for its music. Is that stuck in your head now? Oh, that's too bad. It's also on the Switch, and the Switch port mostly ran pretty well, although it's based on the original Xbox version and doesn't have the PS3 content. There are plenty of ways to play this, and my master thinks everyone should. This is the first game in the series that was released in the West. You play as different types of soldiers fighting an invasion of giant insect aliens. It's fun in the way that 1950s monster movies are fun at Halloween. It's not particularly spooky, but it can get tense when you're surrounded by a whole bunch of insects. Worth playing, especially in couch co-op. This is a first-person survival horror game where survivors of a nuclear war have taken refuge in the metro tunnels of Moscow. You have to scrounge for supplies, explore dark areas, and make certain moral choices on occasion. Much of the horror comes from the bleak setting and story, along with the horrifying giant mutant monsters. Those too. If you're a fan of this type of story or of first-person shooters, you'll enjoy this. Well, that's all the games my master has for the Xbox 360. I'll be back soon with more of his spooky games for other consoles, including PS3, PS4, PS5, Wii and Wii U, and Nintendo Switch.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, version 1.
It's October once again, so my master has been thinking a lot about spooky ooky games for different consoles. Last year I made a video on spooky games my master owns from the Game Boy to the PS2. This year, my master wants me to make a video on more modern spooky games. Some of them you may have heard of, some are hopefully new. So let's take a look, shall we? I previously talked about this in a video about my master's Wii games. It's a first-person horror game from Japan in which 4 friends are trying to escape from a purgatory, using their phones to teleport out. Parts of this game are spooky, but there are long bits of wandering around, and my master doesn't like first-person horror games. It's okay, but not essential. I also previously talked about this in the Wii games video. It takes place in the Himalayas in the 1980s, and is not played in first person. Huzzah! In the game, you're trying to find your missing younger brother. It delves into aspects of Buddhism and is uniquely different to other horror games around. Not expensive and worth a pickup. This is a light gun shooter, like House of the Dead and a prequel to the original Dead Space game. For an EA game, it's actually not terrible, and you still get to dismember monsters in SD glory. If you like action horror, grab this. This is the original Japanese release on the Wii, which got a fan translation. It was developed by Grasshopper, who did the No More Heroes games. People liked it but complained about some game bugs. This later got a port to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. This is a collection of House of the Dead 2 and 3 for the Nintendo Wii. They are rails shooters and you use the Wii as the light gun, and it actually works quite well. You play as an AMS agent in Italy, searching for Agent G and investigating the zombie outbreak from the last game. These are straight ports of the 2 games, although the House of the Dead 3 features a bonus mode called Time Attack, in which health is replaced with time, encouraging the player to shoot faster and avoid damage as much as possible. They are great ports and worth keeping in your collection. House of the Dead Overkill is a new game in the series. It's a prequel to the original game and features Agent G as a young agent of the AMS teaming up with police detective Isaac Washington to investigate a mutant outbreak in Louisiana. It's a pastiche of grindhouse movies of the 70s and features a lot cursing and violence. This game was also ported to the PS3 as the extended cut. Exclusive are 2 new levels not included in the original Wii release: Naked Terror and Creeping Flesh. They both serve as a side story in between the main game, featuring Vala guns and a new female character, stripper Candy Striper. If you like the House of the Dead series, you'll enjoy this game and you should pick it up. Ju-On: The Grudge Haunted House Simulator was produced for the series' 10th anniversary. It's another first-person horror game and is centered on the Yamada family, who move into the cursed house from the movie. Wait, is this the Yamada family from Mr. Mosquito? What an incredible crossover idea! Several family members are playable characters and each story is viewed from the perspective of the character being played in scenarios called episodes. The flashlight is the only light source in the game, and if the flashlight runs out of batteries, the ghost will appear and kill the player, which will result in a game over. And if you stay in one place for too long or move too slowly, the same thing will happen. So this can be a real pain in the ass to play, especially because the game also features a mechanic that measures the Wii Remote's movements during gameplay, so that the more the player flinches, the worse their success rate becomes. The Wii Remote's sensors are not exactly accurate, so it can result in some pretty cheap deaths. Not a terrible game, but flawed. Jesus Christ. It's another in this series. You play as scantily clad girls who chop up zombies with swords and other weapons. Guess why my master bought this game? You swing the Wii Remote vertically to slash at different angles, and also you can thrust. Shaking the nunchuck results in a kick. You can wield 2 swords, using the nunchuck as the second, but you will lose the kick. According to my master, it's fun in small doses but gets repetitive. This is the second in this series that takes the Resident Evil games and retells the events in them through light gun games. It's another rail shooter, with a co-op mode that you play with the Wii Remote. It covers many of the events in Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica, which my master insists is the last good new game in the series, not counting the RE1 remake, which he also likes, as well as a new scenario. There are multiple weapons, which are customizable, and the game adjusts its difficulty depending on how much you suck. It's a pretty fun version of Resident Evil and a pretty good light gun game. I previously covered this on my master's Wii U collection video. It's a first-person horror game made by Ubisoft where you have to navigate around London without getting attacked by horrible, mindless, savage creatures. In other words, a typical day in modern London. I previously stated that game was set in a version of England where Keir Starmer becomes Prime Minister and opens the floodgates to diversity. But that's actually come to pass. I hope that doesn't mean this game is going to become a documentary. Amazingly, for a Ubisoft game, you can actually play as a white male. It was also ported to the PS4 in Europe. Well, that's all the spooky DS games my master has. I'll be back soon with more of his spooky games for other consoles, including the PS3 and PS4.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Supercut.
Continuing on from yesterday, let's talk about some more spooky games, this time for the PS3. This game is fucking terrible. It's not scary and it runs like shit. Check out the new reboot instead. It's almost as bad as Alien Earth, which sucked massive balls. This is the closest Batman has ever had to a horror game. The Joker takes over Arkham Asylum and you play as Batman to try and stop him. It has a lot of atmosphere, with stealth and some pretty horrifying redesigns of villains like Killer Croc, and the Scarecrow sections are creepy as well. Definitely worth playing because you feel like a badass with the combat system. It was also released on PS4. This is a port of the two Wii light gun games. You play with the Move instead of Wii controllers, otherwise it's basically the same game but in HD. This is an HD collection of Resident Evil Code Veronica and RE4. As far as my master knows, this is the only version of Code Veronica that can run on HD other than ports on PSN or Game Pass. It was only released in Asia, and this version doesn't even have an English option. What a waste of time. In this game, Ethan has become an alcoholic from dealing with the PS3 framerate. He is roped into assisting his former colleague, Rosa, in tracking down a missing person and soon becomes involved with Evade, a powerful cult who want him dead. The game was lauded for its gameplay changes such as chain combos in hand-to-hand combat and changes to the forensic investigation. The story is a bit sillier than the first game, but the gameplay changes make it worth it. The Darkness is based on a comic book from the 90s, where a character named Jackie is possessed by a demonic entity called the Darkness and fights back against his uncle Paulie, who tried to kill him and murdered his girlfriend Jenny. This is a first-person shooter, but story-wise is more like The Godfather meets Venom. The Darkness 2 is the sequel to the first game, where Jackie is forced to start using the darkness after quitting cold turkey several years ago. It turns out a cult is out to try and strip the darkness from you, by force if necessary, and you have to take them on. This game is quite violent and you have some tweaked darkness powers. Both games allow you to use multiple weapons combined with cool darkness powers that you use solely for killing bad guys. It ends on a cliffhanger, and a third game was never produced, which is too bad. This is a good series that deserves more attention. This is a collection of games in the Darkstalkers series. It's a fighting game featuring monsters instead of men in bathrobes like Street Fighter. It features Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, 1995, and Darkstalkers 3. The scariest part for journalists who reviewed the game are the characters' giant tits. Dead Island. This is a horror game that became famous because of its initial trailer. It's a first-person parkour game in which you run around, explore the island and avoid and/or kill zombies. My master thinks it's okay but overrated. This is the sequel to Dead Rising by Capcom. You play as Chuck Green, who is a contestant in a game show where contestants kill zombies for money and fame. Chuck needs the prize money to buy Zombrex, a medication that suppresses the zombification process, for his young daughter, Katie, who was bitten by her zombified mother. The gameplay is a little more fair and the time limits aren't as strict in this game. Dead Space is a science fiction survival horror video game. You play as Isaac Clarke, and hooray, the game is in third person. You explore the spaceship Ishimura, arriving after what appears to be some kind of outbreak. In the game you fight monsters called necromorphs by dismembering them, including in some cool sections in Zero G where you also solve puzzles. It has excellent sound design and atmosphere and was widely praised when released. Dead Space 2 continues the story 3 years later, with Isaac having gone cuckoo from his exposure to the artifacts that caused the outbreak of necromorphs on the Ishimura. This time you explore a space station, fighting both necromorphs and the station's administrator, Hans Tiedemann. The gameplay is largely the same, although it contains a pretty pointless multiplayer mode, inserted at the behest of EA, who ruined the third game in the series. This version of the game features extra story content, updated controls, and still has a horrible frame rate. However, my master was able to finish it without encountering any game-breaking bugs. Deception 4 Blood Ties is the fourth game in Tecmo's Deception series. You are Lagrina, one of the Devil's daughters. You and your 3 assistants are trying to find holy verses to resurrect the devil so that he can rule the world again. Your goal is to prevent the enemy from reaching you, exclusively using traps. There is a large variety to choose from, including rolling boulders and spiked walls to springboards, iron maidens, human cannons, falling bathtubs, and banana peels. Different types of traps include brutality, magnificence, or humiliation. Each different type used will grant different rewards from the Devil's 3 servants, so heartwarming it should be on the Hallmark Channel. This is the Devil May Cry series starring Dante as featured in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. The collection features the first 3 games. They were also ported to the PS4. Devil May Cry 4 features Dante and a new character, Nero, as playable characters. Nero, a teenager with demonic powers, is ordered by the Order of the Sword to capture a man named Dante. As the story progresses, Nero learns of the dark side of his followers who aim to use him and Dante due to both of them being descendants of the legendary Dark Knight Spada. One of the biggest complaints about the game was the backtracking. For example, you play as Nero from point A to point B, and then you take control of Dante who moves from point B back to point A. Even fighting bosses you fought as Nero again. My master agrees and felt the game was good, but pretty padded. It was also ported to the PS4 as Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, which lets you also play as Virgil once again. Doom 3 is a reimagining of the original game. The BFG edition had a graphical upgrade and contains extra content such as Resurrection of Evil, The Lost Mission, and ports of Doom 1 and 2. Some people complained because this isn't the same run and gun style as the previous games, but it has a great, tense atmosphere my master really likes, and it is definitely more of a horror game than an action game. It's the scariest Doom game and perfect for Halloween. Here are Earth Defense Force 2025 and Insect Armageddon. These are sequels to the first game released on the Xbox 360. Again, not exactly scary, but fun in that 50s monster movie sort of way. This is an action RPG where you play as one of 2 characters, either Ellen or Keats, who have their own distinct storylines and playstyles. The game takes place in the small seaside Irish village of Doolin, where you explore and talk to the villagers on the night of Samhain, and the fantastical Netherworld, which is inhabited by folk creatures and spirits. The game is beautiful for its time, has a compelling story, a unique setting and a good soundtrack. The gameplay can get repetitive as in the Netherworld. You capture fairies, equip them and have them help you fight, and this requires you to shake the controller like you're having a seizure. Uh-oh. Watch out, Sony. Nintendo is going to travel in time and retroactively sue you for copyright infringement. Ghostbusters. This is an original story featuring the movie characters and are voiced by the original actors. It essentially works as Ghostbusters 3. You play a new employee and you visit locations from the first 2 movies and fight iconic monsters while you investigate a mystery involving Ivor Shandor, the man who tried to resurrect Gozer in the first movie. This was also ported to the PS4. My master liked the game but thought the last boss was bullshit. This is a port of the Wii game onto PS3. You use the Move controller to play. It features new weapons and levels not features in the original game. It's gory, has a lot of naughty words and is very, very fun. It's an homage to 70s grindhouse films, and it's a good one.
Shit, man, that ain't right.
In Never Dead, you play as an immortal demon hunter, and you can remove your body parts to achieve goals in the game. This game has a fun premise, but according to my master, the controls are balls and he didn't finish it. This is only included for the fun extra mode called Undead Nightmare. It's a what-if story where many of the characters in the game are turned into zombies because of an Aztec artifact, and John Marston has to reverse it. This is a port of the GameCube remake that was released on PS3. My master imported it because he stupidly assumed that Capcom wouldn't be porting this to every system in existence in the future. This is a spin-off game that mostly takes place on a cruise ship, similar to Cold Fear. It stars Chris and Jill from the first game, as they try to uncover the truth behind a bioterrorist organization that plans to infect the Earth's oceans with a virus. It's more exploration and puzzle-based, and harkens back to the old RE games in tone and gameplay. It was originally released on the 3DS, but my master thinks the PS3 version is more fun to play. This is a game by Suda51 and published by Electronic Arts. Who fucked it up? You play as Garcia Hotspur, out to save his girlfriend Paula from the Lord of Demons taken to the City of the Dead. You have a talking gun named Johnson, very subtle, and your health is restored by drinking alcohol, so it's a positive message for children. It has the same viewpoint and gameplay style as Resident Evil 4, which was the style at the time. My master thinks it's okay, but the gameplay isn't as fun as other Suda games. You play as Alex Shepard, a soldier returning from war to his hometown of Shepherd's Glen and is looking for his missing brother. It has more of a focus on combat than other games in the series. The first Western-developed Silent Hill game. It's better than anything made by Bloober Team. Silent Hill Downpour. This is played in an over-the-shoulder perspective like Resident Evil 4. How original! You are Alex Murphy, a prisoner being transported, who is set free after a crash outside the town of Silent Hill. It was better received than Homecoming and is better than anything made by Bloober Team. This is also called Siren Blood Curse, and is a reimagining of the original Siren game on PS2, incorporating gameplay improvements from Siren 2 and altering the story. The game focuses on stealth, using a sightjack system in which you hijack enemies called the Shibito, and look through their perspective to avoid them. Using an automated split-screen mode, the story focuses on an American television crew that arrives in Japan to investigate and document the legend of Hanuda, a vanished village where human sacrifices are said to have taken place 30 years prior. If the game is against journalists, maybe the Shibito aren't bad guys after all. In this game, you play as a little girl running away from zombie George Floyd. Wait, that's not right, but you do play as a criminal American. Walking Dead. This is the first game in the Telltale series, based on the Walking Dead comics. You play as Lee, who is on his way to jail when you escape. You meet a girl called Clementine and make your way through the world during the beginning of a zombie outbreak. It was also ported to the PS4, where it doesn't run quite as badly. This is similar to Red Dead Undead Nightmare, in that it's a kind of what-if story. It's set in the Yakuza universe, after Yakuza 4, where a zombie plague breaks out in Kamaroko. The game is split in 4 parts, each focusing on a particular character like Yakuza 4. The real horror is the PS3 frame rate. Well, that's all of the spooky games my master wants to present for this year. He had grand designs of including the PS4, PS5 and Switch games this year, but was too lazy and didn't think of games he wanted me to talk about in time. The scariest part about October is his laziness. Oh well, hopefully next year. Happy Halloween!
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween.